Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, the previous technician knew what they were doing. Used to be a laptop warranty repair tech, foobar. What browse button? I don't see a browse button. Clueless manager. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. The previous technician knew what they were doing. I was working help desk as a Tier 1 technician, and I was working from home because of the pandemic. I was employed at a managed services provider that had multiple clients across various industries. For some clients, when their users called in, I was a glorified ticket maker, and for others I followed a simple checklist providing basic troubleshooting steps. As for our major clients, I followed an extensive list. That usually involved holding their user's hand through step-by-step instruction document or walking them through hardware checks. Frequently, I would remote in to check/fix various settings, collect logs/screenshots, contact vendors, and running scripts, patches, etc. Slap a band-aid on it to get the system and or the person working. That was our supreme goal. Otherwise, the issues are escalated to Tier 2, which was the client's corporate/internal IT. Overall, this was not very fulfilling because I always wanted to do more and spend more time on things. However, at least I got a lot of exposure, as well as strengthened and sometimes flexed my customer service skills. Anyways, the other techs, and I would often reminisce on what collective trope a major client's users were spitting at us. Generally, they said these things out of spite. One that we frequently suffered, when informing users the issue had to be escalated, they would exclaim, "The previous technician knew what they were doing." Followed by some flavor of how come they were able to fix this but not you. Can I talk to the previous technician? I want to talk to your boss. And so much more. For your context, at the time of the story, I had been at this organization for about a year, and well acquainted with much of everything. Things clicked and I was in my stride. Irate, insulting, and incorrigible callers no longer negatively affected my mood or energy. I was a Zen professional. So I was at the tail end of my shift, sometime in the evening, when a user called in about some issue. A polite, elderly gentleman who had troubles with some of the company's proprietary software. After remoting in and investigating, it appeared to be something I had dealt with before, but whatever the case, I had to soldier on. Within the realm of what I was allowed to do, I exhausted all efforts. I let the user know I had to escalate the issue to Tier 2. Unsurprisingly, the user started to berate me. The previous technician knew what they were doing. Then followed up about how they talked to a technician several hours ago that was an expert and quickly resolved their earlier issues. My eyes widened as I recognized I had talked this user earlier. I checked the call history, and I was the only other person they spoke with that day. I felt a rush of excitement, but I quickly contained myself. I verbally acknowledged and let the user elaborate. It was back and forth scorning me and praising the previous technician. They condemned me further, going so far as to accuse me of being new. All the while, unbeknownst to the user praising me, stating the previous technician demonstrated expert skills and was knowledgeable in all things IT and customer service. The user's insolence probably took up a good 5 minutes. Plenty of rope had been laid out at this point. I think there was a brief moment of silence indicating the user had ran out of gas. I was a rock dropped in water. I can imagine the ripples of emotion develop on his face as I listened with glee, the audible stammers and fumbling of words over the phone, and his wife's sudden outburst of laughing as I responded, "Sir, that previous technician was me." There was another weak and helpless attempt or two to deflect. I quickly affirmed that I was the previous technician, going into further details of our earlier encounter. Then once again informed them I was escalating the issue to Tier 2. The user meekly uttered an okay and hung up the phone. Used to be a laptop warranty repair tech, foobar. Normal day at work and boss hands me a bin with a laptop in it, laughing. The bin had water in the bottom of it, and the laptop was bent in a U-shape mildly. The box it was shipped in was included. The laptop still had residual water dripping from it. The customer sent it in for repair/replacement with a note in the box. Dear Repair Tech, I am sure you are wondering what happened to this laptop, so I included this note. I am a writer and my quiet place I go to is a bridge back in the woods. I was writing with the laptop in my lap and sitting on the bridge when it slipped and went into the creek below. I got down and pulled it from the creek and tossed it up on the bridge. About that time a truck came through and ran over it. I sent it in as is with this note. Thanks for the new laptop in advance. The company I repaired for had an option for a no-fault no questions asked repair or replacement plan. Luckily this customer bought it. It would cover full replacement if you bought it new, walked outside and stomped it. Customer received a full brand new replacement. The note quote is as best as I can remember it. I didn't copy it. What browse button? I don't see a browse button. A long time ago, back when Windows 95 was new and current, I worked the help desk at a local computer retailer. I'd regularly get calls from people who couldn't figure out how to install drivers or whatnot, and I'd walk them through it on the phone. One day, I got a call from a guy who needed to install drivers for a new card he'd just bought. I don't recall what, exactly, I think a video card. The computer has booted up and it wants a driver. The dialog box automatically comes up. I tell him to click the browse button in the bottom right corner of the box. He insists there's no browse button. I at first figured that he must be at a different stage of things, and so I'm racking my memory for what the various stages of these dialog boxes look like, and asking him to verify. Each one is a no. I explicitly describe the dialog box that I expect to him everything matches up, except there's no browse button. Finally I give up and tell him that he'll need to bring it in and pay us our service fee of $50 to install drivers for you. Suddenly, he says, "Oh, you mean this browse button?" Facepalm. Clueless manager. A few years ago now we had a new manager start in the sales department. I will call her Tracy. She'd been in post a few weeks when we get a request from her for some new software. This was very specialized CRM software. These were the days when CRM was the latest buzzword on the block. It cost a fortune, had questionable reviews, and above all, looking at the sales blurb, needed several weeks of expensive training before you could use it. Anyway, I took the request to my manager, who agreed with me that this was not a good fit with our organization, so he called Tracy and tried to talk her out of it. She refused to listen and demanded that we purchase it as it was vital to the continuing health of the company. We were still very reticent, but she said she would bear the cost out of her own budget, so we reluctantly agreed. Fast forward a few weeks, the package arrives on several DVDs. I read the installation instructions and immediately realize that it's going to take a whole day to install this piece of crap. I call her to arrange a time to do it, warning her that it will probably take all day. She says she's too busy and it will have to be done out of hours. I inform my manager and he tells her okay, but she must pay the overtime out of her budget. She agrees to this, so I go in on a Saturday and install the software. It was B*******H. Anybody remember installing Novell NetWare from a bunch of floppies? Well, it was like that. I finally got it all done and running, but couldn't test it as I have said it needed a training course. So I closed it down and went home. Monday morning comes, I go up to seal her and tell her it's installed. I was quite interested in seeing exactly what she was going to use it for. So I clicked on the icon and the opening page came up. His first words to me were, "Great. Now show me what it does and how I use it." I was flabbergasted. She'd spent all this money on some software that she'd read about in a magazine somewhere, then gave the impression she was an expert. The result was the software was never used as she'd blown her budget buying it and couldn't afford the training courses. She left a few months later.